Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to simply provide a practical demonstration of using the HPC LDND Do Not Duplicate stamp. I'd like to get the camera to focus right on the end of the stamp. It's a do not duplicate. Okay, so here's a key where I've already stamped it. Here's a key that I will stamp. Okay, and stamping keys is not as lighthearted of a frolic as you might want it to be. It's not so bad with a stamp like this because all the letters are in one place and you just need to position that accordingly. But when you're dealing with individual numbers or letters, it can be a little bit tedious, especially if you want it to look nice, you know, getting those letters lined up. What you'll note is that all the stamps I've ever used will always give an indication, okay, of what, assuming that you're right-handed, well, even if you're left-handed, it doesn't matter, of where the thumb should be. So the thumb, you know, if you pick this up and you look at it and you feel the engraving on one side or a notch or a notch that's cut through it under your thumb, then you know that you've got it positioned right. So it can be a bit tedious to do this because you want it to look straight. And while this key certainly looks really good, we're going to get it. You can tell it's not utterly straight. Okay. So let's do a practical example of this. But before we do that, let's talk about the stamping process. And what I mean is you need a solid surface to stamp on. It's really best that you what we used to, you know, I obviously have my vise here, you know, so I'm going to stamp on this, but my desk structure really isn't great. And if you're stamping for a half an hour and you're just stamping, you're gonna rattle everything around here. And you know, a good solid workbench, and what we used to have was about 1.5 inches thick, maybe a 14-inch diameter piece of iron. And we, you know, and while it wasn't completely flat on the top, it was good enough to stamp keys on. And you'd get that on there, and you'd position your stamp, and you would give it a good crack one time. You don't want to have to reset the stamp back in because inevitably you're going to duplicate that a little bit, and you don't want to get into that sort of scenario where you are stamping over it. What you might want to do is stamp your keys first before you cut them, because if you ruin the stamp process, you've got to recut a key. So you might do it in that order. That's what I had always come to. But this vise will certainly serve as good enough to make one example. And I do like the vise idea because I can get my hand down and my index finger and thumb closer to the stamp on top of the key, rather than having to splay my hand out like this where I've got less, you know, I don't feel like I'm in control as much as where I'm placing the stamp, because you've got very frictionless metal touching very frictionless metal, and it's hard to keep it straight. And we'll talk about hard to keep that straight right after we do this practical demonstration. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we're going to slide over here, and we're going to just make that happen. Oh, and by the way, you may or may not have noticed I kind of fumbled that before. I mean, this is quite hard material, but I do believe that I've dropped a stamp in the past, and it did flatten out some of it, and while it was still clinically acceptable, you do want to be careful with them. Just letting you know, I've dropped them in the past to my detriment. So let's see. I like to, you know, just be patient so as to be able to get the stamp exactly because it will sit on the key without falling off, I can get it positioned nicely. Good, not great. But anyway, giving it a really good crack allows you to indent that such a way that you don't have to go back and doing it again. You know, if you're less confident of, and by the way, the choice of this hammer, this, you know, maybe 2-pound ball peen is intentional. It needs to be something of substance. Using a small, you know, 12-ounce or 8-ounce handle hammerhead is just not going to allow you to get enough force to be able to really impress the key the way that you want to. So you're going to want to invest in something larger. If you're less confident with your ability to strike something so close to your hand, wear gloves is the bottom line. Even though gloves, nice welding gloves are good, even though they're really not welding glove might be too thick. Even though it's not going to save you from hitting your wrist with a hammer, I've personally hit my wrist with a hammer wearing gloves and without them on, and I can tell you that having safety equipment is a good thing in that type of regard. So getting it positioned squarely on something solid, making one sure, quick and fast, heavy blow will allow you to strike the stamp onto the key so that you can get a really nice result out of it. Anyway, demonstrating how this works. Someone may ask, why would you make a video without demonstrating it? Yeah, I get that. Here's your video demonstrating it. So thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.